Hello, Facebook. Hello, YouTube. My name is Jeremy. I'm with Called Out Christian, and God put it on my heart uh, to read you guys a story that I wrote, a true story that I wrote a few years ago. Uh, so let me read it to you guys. The name of it is Questions Never Asked. And this is a true story that happened to me and my family. The ringing of the phone splintered the night in two. It took a second ring to rouse me out of sleep in my recliner. The third ring made me conscious of my surroundings. My wife came around the corner from the kitchen asking who it could be this late at night. It was past 10 p.m. I reached for the phone in what felt like slow motion, and just as I gripped the phone, I hesitated. Either this was a prank call or something serious is wrong. I hoped it was a prank call, I told myself. The fourth ring. I pressed talk and put it to my ear. Someone wept softly on the other end of the line. After a few unbearable seconds, she spoke hesitantly. Son, this is your mom. Your father has had an emergency. My mother's words numbed me into disbelief. I tried to convince myself my father is only 54 and he's my Superman. He's too young and too strong for anything life-threatening. My father had been through so much. He had a quadruple bypass surgery at the age of 45. Then he got lung cancer and went through the agonizing pain of chemo. But he was so strong, he beat the cancer. What's wrong? I asked. He had a heart attack while he was getting ready for bed, she explained. I called 911 and then gave him CPR until they arrived. He is in the ambulance and I'm following. Get to the emergency room now. I told my wife what was going on and we grabbed the children and we loaded up in the Jeep and headed that way. My wife and I started praying as images of my father and myself drifted through my mind. Wrestling on the floor and fishing the waters of Lake Selm Rayburn. Watching my father cry one time in my life at his father's funeral. All the times I worked beside him in the logging woods and installing satellites and at the ranch in West Texas. Sleeping close to my father as a small boy. I lingered on this particular image under the covers and jammed up against him. It was a safe world beside my father. What would I do without him? Enough of this, I lectured myself. He would be okay. My wife's sister met us in the hospital parking lot to take the kids. As we approached the emergency room doors, my two sisters were standing out front, waiting for the ambulance to arrive. Then my mother runs out of the emergency room doors asking where we had been. I knew as soon as I saw her face, her words were unnecessary. Your father is dead. He died in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. Massive heart attack. They couldn't bring him back. I wrapped my mother and my sisters in my arms as tears streamed down my face. As I wished I could take it all back, turn back the hands of time, or take his place. As I swallowed the lump in my throat, and I followed my mother into the room where he laid, I walked around the bed and I grabbed his hand. I reached down and kissed his forehead. which still had beads of sweat but was ice cold. My dad was gone. Only one question came to my mind. And so I ran out of the room and went to the chapel, and I fell down on my knees, crying out to God, put her hand on my back, asking him if I was okay. And I said, I never asked him. Not once in my life did I ever ask him. I had never asked my father if he knew Jesus, if he was saved. My own father, my best friend, and I never asked. And now I will never know where he will spend eternity. This question broke my heart. I want to pose a question to you right now. Do you know Jesus? Does your loved ones know him? Does your wife or your kids or your parents or your friends know Jesus? I would like to ask you right now to find out. Go to them, make a phone call, write a letter, whatever it takes. Just make sure you do all you can do to save them from the separation of God for eternity. Save their life today. It's in your hands. Please, I beg you, don't wait until it's too late. Tomorrow is not promised to anyone. I pray you ask the question that I never asked. I hope this story touches the hearts of many. And I hope you ask the question that I never got to ask. Thank you.